Hi, my name is Foster Loftus, and this is my crop evaluation for greenhouse management fall 2022. A couple of responsibilities that I took on at the greenhouse this semester were to water my plants thoroughly. I tried to water 3 to 4 times a week, usually after class Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and occasionally on the weekends. I also had to mix fertilizer, and I used Jack's 15-5-15 to create a 150 ppm fertilizer that I then applied to my plants every week. And all of the plants got a 1 to 100 injector ratio, or got applied with a 1 to 100 injector ratio, except for the poinsettias that were applied with a 1 to 50 injector ratio. I also had to pinch the tips of the poinsettias so they would bunch out and remove any dead flowers when they had died. And I also had to measure the pH and EC for poinsettias and Gerber daisies every week. So this is a total list of all of the crops we planted this semester. We spent the most time working on the poinsettias and Gerber daisies. And my favorites on this whole list were probably the herbs, a variety of succulents, and the monstera. So this is a list of perennials that we grew. Like I said, the monstera is definitely my favorite. I love a good house plant. I also love Gerber daisies, and I'm really excited that I had a lot to take home. I'm not too crazy about poinsettias. They just remind me a lot of Christmas, and I guess I'm just not too excited about them, but mine turned out very well, so I'm excited about that. So to break that list down a little bit more, this is the list of perennials that we grew. Again, my favorites were the monsteras. I also really love Gerber daisies, so I was excited to have a lot of those to take home. I am not too crazy about poinsettias. My birthday is December 27th, so I have this weird thing against Christmas, and they just always make me think of Christmas. So I'm not a big fan of those, but mine turned out really well. These are a couple of the annuals that we grew this semester. My ornamental kale and cabbage did really well, and they're growing in the ground at my house now, still doing very well. The calibrachoa I definitely had a really hard time with. This is a list of herbs that we grew. My herbs did very well. I was surprised to see that the mint germinated and produced a lot of successful plants. The cilantro did not do well. It really didn't do well from the start. I think it honestly might have been some watering issues, but all the other plants did really well. Like I said, we spent a lot of extra time on the poinsettias. We had to pinch the tips, fertilize at a higher rate. At one point, I even had to double the amount of fertilizer because my new growth the leaves were very yellow. And we measured the pH and EC weekly, and I will talk a little bit more about that later on. Another crop that we spent a lot of time on was the Gerber daisies. We did an experiment with plant growth regulators. For my experiment, I applied the bonsai drench to my Gerber daisies, and over the course of the next 4 weeks, I observed that the plants that received the PGR did not grow as well, and the stem length of the flowers was significantly lower than those that did not receive the PGR treatment. So like I said, we measured the pH and EC of poinsettias and Gerber daisies every week. For my poinsettias, the average pH was 6, which is what you want. You want it between 5.5 and 6.5. And the average EC was 0.9, which is pretty low. For my Gerber daisies, the average pH was 5.8, and the average EC was 1.2. The pH is in the good ballpark, but the EC is pretty high. So some successes and problems that I had. Successes, my mint germinated and produced successful plants. The monsteras, herbs, and succulents are growing great. The calibrachoas needed a lot more water than I thought, so they didn't do very well from the very beginning. Also, I need to dedicate more time to watering. I'm wondering if I had watered a little more regularly, if this would have improved the low EC on the poinsettias and the high EC on the Gerber daisies. I also wish that I had taken more pictures throughout the semester, so I could look back and remember just how much that they've grown. I thoroughly enjoyed this class over the semester. I've been interested in building a small greenhouse at my house, so I found this class to be very helpful when talking about the frames and the building materials and heating and lighting. I also realized that I've worked in a greenhouse before, and although I love this class, I do not think that working in a greenhouse will be the best job for me, but it is extremely helpful to know how they are operated and managed. Thank you guys.